Ella es Hillay Topper, es autora del libro From Couch Potato to Endurance Athlete. Esto es básicamente, la traducción es no hacer nada y pararse a hacer deporte. Obviamente esa no es la traducción literal, pero me senté y quiero hablar con Hillay para que ustedes conozcan su historia y vean lo importante que uno puede o cómo uno puede cambiar su vida tomando una decisión tan fácil. Hillay, welcome.
Thank you.
To my channel. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you for having me.
It's really nice to know you because right now we are in Austin and we got here for the running event, but I don't know why I got this email like, hi, I want you to meet Hillay. And I started reading about you, and I think we can talk a lot about your journey with sports.
Sure.
And maybe your journey as a woman and why you took like the decision to move.
Mm-hmm.
So, welcome.
Thank you.
So, here, let's talk about this book and your journey.
Sure.
From the beginning.
All right. So I was never athletic, ever, right? I just really, my whole life focused on getting married, having a career, raising my family, taking care of my parents, taking care of my husband. It was like all about everybody else. Mm-hmm. And I was last. And I just thought, you know what? I need to make a change. I was about 48 years old. So I was going through that midlife crisis.
Yeah.
And I said, and I used to watch people run, and I used to think, wow, I want that magic. I want to run. I want to feel good, you know? So I would go to this parkway where there on Long Island, where we, and this is in New York, where the runners would go on this path, and I would just sit there and watch them, and I thought, wow, this is incredible. I want this too. So my first step was to join a gym, and I joined this sports club on Long Island, and the trainer comes down and he says to me, go on the treadmill, warm up, and then we're gonna do some weightlifting. Now, I had never been to a gym before at this point. Never. Okay. So this was my first experience. Okay. I walk into the gym. I walk into this, look at this treadmill, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't even know how to turn it on. I have no idea how to turn this on. So I asked a runner, a woman who was running, and she's like the sweat is dripping down, and she says, I said to her, excuse me, I'm really sorry to bother you, but can you help me? And she was really gracious, and she stopped running and she helped turn it on, and I started to walk. And that's really how I started getting into it. And the more I walked, the more I enjoyed it. And then I started to run a little bit. And as I started to run, I enjoyed it more and more.
Yeah, it's just like the process, because people on my Instagram, they write me a lot like, okay, Silvana, how do I start running?
Yeah.
Because I have like the same story with you as you. Mm-hmm. I did a lot of, no, that's not true. I did some exercise when I was like a teenager in the gym.
Okay.
And that's it, because I had this problem with my eyes. So they told me, you can do sports. I go, okay. I don't want to run, don't worry. And I hated running and all that stuff. And I started running like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people who are like, I want that. Like, I want to feel better. But I think sometimes on social media right now, you feel like that pressure that you need to be the best and you need to run fast and you need to be, No,
not at all. So,
and you can start
my whole
walking.
thing, right? Exactly. Like my whole thing is that you start walking.
Yeah.
And I've been doing the run walk method. Mm-hmm. It was coined by Jeff Galloway many years ago. He's a former Olympian. And anyway, but I've been teaching this method to people on Long Island. And, these are people who would not normally be considered runners. Yeah. They're all shapes and sizes. And we run for 5 seconds and then we walk for 30 seconds. And
Which
we
is
build
perfect, because when you start running, it start hurting, you can't breathe, and then where people just give up. It's like, no, I can't do this.
right, exactly. And it's not. And what's wonderful about this run walk is that it just gives you the endorphins,
Yeah.
and you feel so good afterwards. Like,
Yeah.
I just love my running community. And we, sometimes we go out for 10 seconds or 15 seconds, we change it up. But we always keep the run portion real short, especially for those long runs.
Yeah.
And so so we've been doing that. We do that every week, and it's just wonderful. And I would encourage anybody can run for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
5 seconds.
And then you will see that you're going to run a little bit further
Absolutely.
and faster for more time,
Absolutely.
right?
And in terms of being fast, I'm probably one of the slower ones.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that because it makes me happy.
Yeah.
So if it makes me happy, what difference does it make if somebody else is getting to the podium and I'm not?
Exactly. So now I have this question. What did your family say to you
Oh my
when you
God.
start doing those things? Because you were saying you were in charge of everything. You were taking care of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people, when they take the caretaker is gone, it's like, what
Yes.
are you doing?
Right.
Like, I'm happy for you, but what are you doing?
Yes, exactly.
How
And
was that journey?
that's so true. It was difficult because my kids were very supportive. What I did was I started incorporating some of these runs with my kids.
Nice.
And at the time they were still young enough that they wanted to do it with, they still do it with me, and they're now older and we still run together. But at the time I'd incorporate that. My husband never liked any of this, and he still doesn't to this day, which is, he deals with it, but doesn't love it. Like, he'd rather me be with him, and,
Now he has to cook.
Yeah, he does. He cooks. He does. He actually does a better job than I do.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah. My husband sometimes is like, you're going to run again on a Sunday? I'm like, yeah, bye. Take care of our child. Goodbye.
I think the hardest part is that I go to bed so early and I wake up so early. And
Yes.
he goes to bed late and wakes up late. So
But that happens to almost all the partners who have a running partner.
Yes.
Yeah, I have seen that. Actually, there was like this New York Times article, a recent article, that with the marathon, and this lady was just talking like, okay, my husband started running on the pandemic, and he started running half marathons because he doesn't want to run like a 5K or walk run, no, half marathon, and now marathons. He did like 2-3 marathons in the year. That guy doesn't have a life.
No.
Please don't do that too. Like, you can run, but don't obsess with it. And then she was like, so now we just talk about running. He only sleeps and eats and runs.
It runs.
And I think his marriage is going to end. How?
It's difficult.
Yeah.
It
How
definitely is
how
difficult.
it's been for you?
You really need to have somebody who's supportive.
Yeah.
Even though he's doesn't like it, he lets me do it.
Yeah.
And I love that about him. I love that he allows me to do this without giving me guilt.
Yeah.
Because he knows it's something I love.
And I think he knows, looking at you, that you are a better person, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I just feel so much more healthy now. I feel so much better about myself. Like, I was really feeling depressed and just not good about myself. I talk in my book, I talk about how I had a really rough childhood, and a lot of people had rough childhoods. Nobody had it
Almost
good,
everyone.
right? Nobody had it good, right? So getting through that, like, there was so much stuff that you have to deal with, and you do get depressed, right? But for me, running, and now I'm doing cycling and swimming.
Yeah.
Those all make me so happy, and the depression just dissipates.
Well, actually, now they're saying that running or doing some endurance sports will help you with mental health
Absolutely.
more than medicines. Or if you have medicines and you
Absolutely.
do it together, it will be better for you, right?
In the book, I talk about I trained for the New York City Marathon.
Yeah.
And I was running 13 miles. I mean, the whole time I did it by myself. It was right before I started this group. And so I was doing all these really long runs myself. And during those 13, even 20 milers, you come to terms with things that happens in your life.
Yeah.
And they kind of dissolve.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It's just like a freeing feeling.
Yeah. One of my friends, I actually did my first marathon this year in September. And when you have your long runs, there are a lot of you are 3-4 hours with yourself.
Yeah.
Because we are not fast runners.
Right.
And I'm not thinking I'm going to the fastest. No, I just want to run. And she asked me how do you do it? You not get bored? No, actually no. I love seeing
Everything.
the city. I have seen a lot of things on my city that I have never seen before. As you were saying, things with myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
Right.
How you can decode or recode your brain. That's pretty cool.
Absolutely. It's amazing how you come to terms with things. You look around. For me, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and I see the sunrise.
Yeah.
It's magnificent, and I feel so happy. This is going to be a great day.
Yeah. So you were telling me that now you have a group.
I do.
And now you became a triathlete.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So we were.
How was this this transition? Because running is one thing.
Yeah.
Rock running.
Yeah.
And now you have a bike, and now you swim.
Well, it wasn't always that easy, right? So I didn't know how to run, and I started running at 48. And at 53, I was with this woman, Becky. And Becky and I, we would go to all these different races together and run together. And we were about the same pace, so we have a fun time. And then at the Brooklyn Half Marathon, she said to me, I'm done. I don't want to do any more of these long runs. It's too much. And I had just been to Florida, I don't know, about a month before. I was one of the original Google Glass Explorers. There were these headsets where they had the virtual reality, augmented reality, and you could photograph stuff and get it on the internet.
Okay.
So anyway, so I was there. I was doing some type of a tourism. I was hired by the tourism people to do this. And as I was there, the person in charge, she said to me, we have the most amazing triathlon. If you are a runner, you would love this triathlon. It's short, but it's so much fun. So I said to her, okay, and I just kind of put it in the back of my head. And during this Brooklyn Half, I said to my friend Becky, what do you think? Let's do it.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't realize that I had to learn how to swim.
That's why I don't get into triathlon.
I didn't know how to swim.
And
I started at 53.
Oh my God, it's never too late.
It's never too late.
Yeah.
I started at 53. It was so embarrassing. This really hot looking lifeguard jumps in the water with me and he says to me, come, let's blow bubbles together.
Oh, but he's sweet. He was willing to do it.
He was, and I was so embarrassed because I was I'm old enough to be his mother.
Well, now you know it is important to know how to swim.
Yes, it is important, especially since I grew up on a beach.
Yeah,
and
that's weird. Yeah.
My mother, she was very overprotective. She didn't want me to go in the water. She was like, the water's going to swallow you up. You're going to drown. You're going to get taken away by the rip current. You know, I used to get that all the time. So I never really went in, and I never really learned how to swim. I went to summer camp, but even in summer camp, they didn't really teach you. And all I did was I knew how to float. That was it. And doggy paddle.
Like being in the swimming pool like this.
Yeah, with the little, right, exactly. That's what I knew how to do. And that's what I thought it was.
And if you are willing to do like an Ironman or something, you don't do the doggy.
No, you can't.
You have to learn like Michael Phelps things, right?
You do. You have to learn how to, and it's doable, and anybody could learn how to do it.
How was your first time in open waters?
Okay, the first time I was scared to death. I thought, oh my God, the sharks are going to come get me.
I have heard a lot of dark stories from people doing the open water for the first time.
So then, I think I was upstate New York in this big, beautiful lake, and I was with a group. We were at like a triathlon training camp, and a couple of the women were really, really nervous. And it was funny because I was always so nervous about the open water. At that point, I just said to them, and it was funny because we're swimming together and they stop and they're having panic attacks. And I said, you know, let's just stop and look around at this beautiful, beautiful place that we are. And we're swimming here and it's so gorgeous. And don't you love this? Like, isn't this amazing? Yeah. And they were like, yeah. And that was at that point, that was like my turning point.
It's so enjoyable.
Oh my God, it's so enjoyable. Yeah. Oh, it's so beautiful. I mean, I think swimming is such a great compliment to running. Yeah. It's such a great compliment.
That's what people say. I told my husband I want to swim, and he was like, girl, you're doing a lot of stuff. Just pick one. You don't have time. Like, no, I don't know.
And then with the biking, I grew up in this place called Long Beach, Long Island, and it's completely flat. There's a boardwalk, right?
Oh, cool.
And it's, you know, people go on their bikes and they ride, you know, like these beach combers, like 5 miles an hour maybe, right? So now I have to go out and buy a bike. And I don't know how to use the gears, and and they're telling, you know, my coach is telling me
sophisticated bikes.
Oh my goodness, yes, everything's so different now. Yeah. And then, you know, putting the clips in and clipping in and out of the bike pedals and all of that.
Did you fall a lot?
Oh my God, at first, yes, but I did it like on grass. I was like, all right, you know.
But actually, it is a journey, which is it's a pretty nice journey because you have to learn a lot of stuff, and when you're a grown-up, society tells you that you're done. It's like, no, you don't have to learn anything. You're not a child anymore.
Right.
And I think when you learn something new, it doesn't matter your age, your brain, it's gonna be better at some point. And I think you can be like a better person too.
Absolutely.
And your abilities and stuff, right?
Absolutely. I feel so much better. I mean, I'm probably in the best shape of my life, and I'm 61 years old.
Yeah. And yeah, that's a good thing about sports. Now, I think about like my grandma when she was 61 and she looked like a really old lady.
Yeah, yeah.
And now I see my mom, and now she's like 70 and she doesn't look like my grandma. And I think I'm going to be like you. Yeah, it has changed a lot.
It does. You know,
Thank God.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you know, don't just because you're older doesn't mean you can't learn something new.
Yes.
You could learn something new. You could just, you know, experience something. I was never an athlete, and now I am so addicted to endurance sports, and I love it. And I'm going to probably do a marathon swim this year, and you know, so I've got like so many interesting things in the books.
You were telling me before we started about this lady who works for you. She's from El Salvador, right?
Yes.
And she was telling you that you should translate this to Spanish, and I think you should, because I know in the whole world, women, we have like a different role, and we're changing that, and not only like being a mother or working. It's just like being ourselves. As you were saying in the when we started, like, okay, you get married or you don't get married, you go to work whatever you want and you take care of your parents or your children or your partner. But I think that's changing, that women, we are now acknowledging that, okay, if I can take care of myself, I can take care,
Better care, right?
yeah, better care to other people. Now I'm married, I have like my husband, I have a child, and I feel pretty good when my child, he looks at me and he's like, okay, I'm running like mama. And I told my husband, I'm like,
Absolutely.
dude, I have never been into sports. And now this person thinks I'm like the cooler person because
Yeah.
I run, and
Yeah.
he has seen me running.
Aw.
And I'm like, okay, that's really cool.
It's beautiful.
But not a lot of women in the world have like this, or partners who tell them, okay, you can go, which is, you don't have to ask for permission to do it, just do it. But it's just like they feel they can't.
Right. I totally get it.
And we were talking about this lady from El Salvador, because in Latin America we have this culture,
Yeah.
like the nurture culture, it's almost toxic. And women, we are like just designed to be at home.
Yeah.
And I think this book can change a lot of lives.
Yeah. That's why I wrote it, because I felt like I really wanted to help other people.
Yeah.
I knew I wasn't alone in my journey. I knew that I wasn't the only one out there who wasn't happy with their lives and needed a change, and that's
Yeah.
really why I wrote it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like pride themselves. Like, I want to do not only sports, like we were just talking, like learn something.
Something new.
Like, I don't want to be only at home. I don't want to be depressed. I don't want to be alone. Maybe it's time to learn something new.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what you said about your son, like being so proud of you. My daughter was out there during the New York City Marathon, and she was holding a sign that said, "Mom, you're my hero."
Oh my God. No.
And oh my
Those,
God.
those little things, I'm like,
I still have it hanging in my gym. I'm never getting rid of that.
Yeah.
It was just so incredibly special.
Yeah. Because actually, I'm sure you are. And people around, people who, as we was talking, like, this lady hated her husband because he only talked about running.
Yeah.
It's nice not to be obsessed with things in general.
Right.
But I think when people who cares about you see like the journey, like of your training, and when you can get to be in the finish line, they feel almost like they feel really good about themselves too. Like, my husband is always in the finish line, and he just yells, and he's so happy.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, okay, we're done. We're not doing this anymore. He knows I'm not quitting, but he's like, okay, are you sure you want to run a marathon? I'm like, yeah. You're gonna bitch about it. Yeah, but I like it. But it's so nice to be like in this journey with people, or even if your family is not like with you, you can have people like your group, right?
Well, my group, yeah. So with my group, like, they will come out and support, which is amazing. A couple of the people have gone on to do Ironman events and stuff like that, and we're going out there and supporting them, and it's just amazing to watch that. It's very inspiring.
Hillary, thank you for your time.
Thank
you for talking to me. I know this talk will help a lot of
I hope so.
people and women who follow me, and now that they're going to read your book, she's going to translate it. Lo va a traducir. Vamos a trabajar en eso para que lo traduzca y ustedes lo puedan leer. Lo pueden conseguir en Amazon, está en Audible, está en inglés, pueden practicar su inglés también, eso también es una gran práctica. And Thank you for inspiring a lot of people.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's nice to meet you.
Y a Hillary la pueden encontrar en www.hillaytopper.com. Chao.